Welcome to the Camnet TV Midday News. To present, I am Beatrice Chabaya. The headlines. Mismanagement of the CHUNGA dump site by council sparks protests among residents. Opposition leader castigates government over the public-private partnership road financing model. President HH warns the private sector against corrupt practices when bidding for contracts. We'll now take a break. Stay tuned for the news in detail.
Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chol. We're from Cho's Fitness Gym. We're a fully functional gym located along Twin Palm Road in Kablonga, right by Cheshire Homes Society of Zambia. So we have various classes that happen from Monday to Friday. We have aerobics, we have boot camp, we have step aerobics, we have spinning, we have kettlebell classes. They happen from 18 to 19 hours every day, and we are open from 06 until 20 hours. That's Monday to Friday. Then Saturdays 6 to 12, and then Sundays we are closed. And most public holidays we are open 6 to 12.
Welcome back, and now the news in detail. Residents of CHUNGA have staged a protest over the indiscriminate disposal of waste by garbage collectors at CHUNGA dump site. In an interview with Camnet TV News, the residents have lamented that the waste which has protruded from the boundaries of the site has posed health risks to the residents, hence their protest. More in the following report. Enough is the new slogan for the residents of CHUNGA as indiscriminate disposal of waste has continued to affect them. The residents have posed a vote of no confidence in the Lusaka City Council, accusing the local authority of failing to manage the infamous CHUNGA dump site. They opted to translate their anger into action by blocking hundreds of trucks from proceeding to the dump site. The residents hired an excavator using their resources to clear the affected roads, demanding that the council shows commitment to do things better. The residents have explained that garbage protruding from CHUNGA dump site has hindered their daily movements and businesses, as people have started staying away from any economic activities in CHUNGA.
Yonse amaezi si mwamene yanaliliswa bama kwanisa kupushing ananga ino yecho kagabranch kifuna che batandisireko batileteko magreda kuti bafite branch batikirinire batitecho kirina baleteko benango kuti batikirinire ko chape. They have since appealed to the relevant authorities to act on the matter, stating that if not handled, more protests will be staged.
So tufuna wapleti veko chifundo. That's why se bazima itanyamuka. Pena sati yankira pesa tokera pano. Ngati ni 1 week itizankala. Ni same. Na shiftili pamela. Wagwala huku yalia sisi na bana. Mlandu wa kishana bitasa player wanataka kuikonda. Hao salema wanitamba ngoma.
Meanwhile, Lusaka City Council Director Public Health Victor Kagoli has assured to address the matter.
Community concerns are true. We have put an intervention from today onwards that the road will not be littered. We have planted the police, the council police, to ensure that everyone is directed to be 24 hours operation. And like the way we will knock off maybe at 20 hours, we have observed that the disposal continues even at the late hours when everyone else has knocked off. It is manageable. As we speak, we are going to address the community to reassure them of these interventions, and that we are also putting the road was some kind of 3-4 ways, but it has narrowed to 1 way.
Beatrice Chabaya, Camnet News, Lusaka. Some residents of Lusaka's Libala South have accused the power utility company ZESCO of failing to respond to an emergency call in which live ZESCO cables had been cut after a tree fell on them. Some residents spoken to have explained that ZESCO had failed to show up on time when it was called to come and attend to the live cables that were posing a threat to the lives of the people in the area. Here's a report.
A distress call by the residents of Lusaka's Libala South Kapoli Street to the power utility company ZESCO to come to their aid after some ZESCO cables fell due to the impact caused by a tree that fell on them proved to have fallen on deaf ears as the power utility company failed to respond to the call on time. 3 hours after the incident, the power utility company was nowhere to be seen, and the resident raised concerns as to why the power utility company failed to respond to such a distress call. School-going children were also at risk, which prompted the community to act by directing some children to avoid using the road while they waited for ZESCO to show up.
This cable, as you can see, is lying in between of the road. So the school boys and girls are passing here. Others, they're not aware of electricity, so they don't know the dangers. But when you look at this, it's a danger to someone's life. Then you look this other side, all the cables, you can see the other side. So this is a danger. We've tried to cause this. When you go in the house there, when you touch anything, stove, yagwira maraiti. Yagwira maraiti. Kuliko sikama gwira maraiti throughout yadi live. So we don't know what ZESCO is going to do about it. I don't know what time they're going to come, because we are so concerned. Now we will have to stand here to be telling people not to pass here. This is an emergency, whereby people, just from our neighbor there, the other one has been electrocuted.
Others are equally disappointed with the utility company and has wondered why ZESCO takes too long to respond to emergencies.
Out. Then when I came out, I found people checking this side. So people passing, and then some vehicles pass this side. So we need...
Currently we have a disaster. It's unfortunate that such a thing has happened, but these are the things that happen. You can imagine a whole tree dropping power poles. What are we going to do?
An effort made by this reporter to contact ZESCO Corporate Affairs Manager Karisto Chitamfia proved futile, as his phone went unanswered while the lives of these residents remained at risk. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
President Hakainde Hichilema says corruption in the health sector has been giving government headache since it took over office. Officiating at the first ever Zambia European Union Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Forum in Lusaka Wednesday, President Hichilema has advised the public and the private sector to report any official who will be soliciting for resources when awarding them contracts.
Sector, that's my other message, is one of the sectors since we took office giving us some headaches. The health sector. Corruption in this sector. Corruption. Taking away what doesn't belong to you. Taking away a Panadol that is bought for a public health facility. And because you work in the system, along the way, it is taken off the supply chain. And the patient does not receive it. Our job is to address the scourge of corruption in this sector. I invite the public, I invite us in the business, Mr. Saga, because as you supply, you get talked to someone in public sector is telling you that adka something.
So this forum is only a milestone in a much larger action that would eventually replace the Made in EU and Made in India with Made in Zambia. Let me repeat, because I would like to hear this, our voice to be very well heard. Made in Zambia products in pharmacies and health facilities countrywide.
The pandemic has highlighted the critical need to prepare for potential disruptions of the supply chain for essential medicines and other health supplies. It is a big global agenda to enhance efforts towards local production and equitable distribution of medicines, health technologies, and supplies.
Private sector-driven socio-economic transformation. We will, as the pharmaceutical and manufacturing industry, and we must play a role in achieving these targets.
The opposition leadership movement has charged that there is nothing exciting about relegating public service provision to the private sector in the case of the construction of the Lusaka dual carriageway. The government signed a concession agreement for the public-private partnership project for upgrading to dual carriageway of the 327 kilometers Lusaka-Ndolo Road, including rehabilitation of the 45 kilometers of the Luwansha-Fisenge-Masangano Road in Central and Copperbelt Province.
The public-private partnership model for the construction of the Lusaka-Ndolo Road, including rehabilitation of Luwansha-Fisenge-Masangano roads in Central and Copperbelt provinces, has been said to be a game changer for financing road projects in the country. Macro Oceans Investment Limited will be in charge of the road for 25 years, but the government will also have a stake on revenue. During the signing ceremony of the Memorandum of Understanding on Tuesday, Finance Minister Tumbeko Msokotwane indicated that the government has done what other governments failed to do.
They left empty coffers. So if you left empty coffers, how do you expect the government of the day to finance this?
However, opposition leadership movement president Dr. Richard Silumbe feels it is not a good idea to relegate government obligation to run state infrastructure to the private sector.
We expected the new Dawn government to be helping the Zambian people to thrive in this difficult economy and not to give up on public infrastructure and give room to the private sector to run those systems, public infrastructure, as profit-making. And this is very dangerous because we are putting the future generation into unnecessary debt. Imagine you give up on an infrastructure like a road for 25 years, and that itself is actually selling the future of the Zambian people. We do not like these policies because these policies eventually they will transform into abusive way of dealing with the public.
Dr. Silumbe says subjecting citizens to more taxes through road tolling is not ideal.
Disappointed with the fact that the new Dawn government is not taking serious responsibility of what it should be delivering to the Zambian people. We expect public infrastructure to be run by the Zambians and through the government and not to be relegated to the private sector, because when you do that, you are going to subject the public to more abuse, payment of tariffs, payments of toll gates that are unimaginable, because the private sector is interested in profits, whilst government is there to provide service to the people. So this is very bad, and we do not actually support it.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
We have come to the end of the midday news, but before we go, here's a recap of the headlines. Mismanagement of the CHUNGA dump site by the council sparks protests among residents. Opposition leaders castigate government over the public-private partnership road financing model. President HH warns the private sector against corrupt practices when bidding for contracts. This has been Beatrice Chabaya. Good afternoon.